So Tig, you star in and co-created the series One Mississippi, which is based on some life experiences for you. Talk a little bit about where the idea for the show came from.
Well, I had been, the experiences that you're talking about is I had been diagnosed with pneumonia and then this digestive disease that eats your insides called C. diff. I had invasive cancer. My mother had she had tripped and fallen and hit her head and died. And my girlfriend and I broke up. And it didn't ever dawn on me that this would become a TV show or anything that would be considered a comedy of any sort. But I based it all in that true place for the pilot, which is, I think, 75% factual. And then, and from after that point on the pilot, it becomes more fictionalized. And we hired a writer's room. But I just wanted to, at that time, which was, I guess, 2 years ago now, wanted to be able to tell my story, but also not know where my story was going to go. Because I did a documentary and a book and all this material on it. And the fun part was to be able to write different endings to things. And it's dark, but a lot of the comedy is born out of real moments. And so I enjoy the tone.
Well, can you talk a little bit more about how you found the comedy in these very serious subjects?
I mean, it wasn't ever a time that I was searching for comedy in these moments. I think it's just an extra sense that I have. And, you know, I think that in dark moments in my life, it's just a natural thing for me to find that. Mm-hmm. I don't know any other, I mean, there's moments, like I remember when in my stand-up set, after I was going through all this, I talked about what was it, a survey that the hospital sent out to see, it was addressed to my mother after she was dead, asking how her stay at the hospital went. And in the moment, I was very furious, but then in time, I found the humor in that, and I'm not quite sure how I find it, but it's, like I said, just that extra sense.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's very truthful, what you're doing, which probably helps find the comedy, right?
I think so, yeah. I mean, I think when you are grounding something in truth and reality, there's no argument there of, oh, this could never happen, or, if somebody gave me the note that, oh, that's too much tragedy, nobody's going to believe that. It's like, no, it's true. That really happened. And you can kind of build and expound upon that base that you begin with, the foundation. Right.
A lot of the comedy in this show comes from seeing you returning home, and you're sort of like a fish out of water now. As somebody who's from the South and moved to Los Angeles, I really identified with.
Where are you from?
North Carolina.
Oh, cool. Yeah. I love North Carolina.
Yeah, it's really, really great. Can you talk a bit about that sort of fish out of water aspect to the story?
Well, I mean, I think the fish out of water element is really my relationship with my stepfather. And it's really there more than ever with my mother being gone. Right. And obviously you move out of the house, you have your experiences, and I'm in a different city in Los Angeles, and then going back, there's a hint of fish out of water, but I really feel like the most out of water for me is trying to navigate that relationship with my stepfather, more so than even being back in the South or any of that. It's really living in my stepfather's home without my mother there to like defend me, or yeah, that's really the out of water experience.
Well, speaking of which, John Rothman as your stepfather, Bill, can you talk a bit about working with him, and also with Noah Harpster as your brother Remy?
I mean, both of these actors, as soon as I saw them in their audition, there was no doubt that this was my father, my stepfather, and this was my brother. I was really looking for my brother, a real kind of guy's guy, but that also really had a heart. And my stepfather, I mean, when John Rothman came in, it was hard for me to comprehend that was not his personality, and he's nothing like that, but he plays it so perfectly. And so many actors came in auditioning for that, and some well-known even, and knowing that this was classified as a comedy, they were trying a little too hard, when the comedy that John does is so perfect, because he's just, I always say he's like a human C3PO is essentially what that character is. And you don't need to push anything too far or too hard, because his behavior and his reactions and the way he does everything, it's pretty phenomenal. I think I feel endlessly lucky to have Noah and John on this show.
Well, there's some moments of not just comedy, but genuine feeling between the three of you. Can you talk a bit about that?
Well, I mean, the reality of my life is as separated and different as my brother and stepfather and I are. There is true and genuine love and support there. And it's really, I think it's a pretty good, even though it's obviously not a documentary, and this is a scripted show, and we're doing something a little different than reality, but there is a realness where I've had insight about myself and my relationships with my brother, the relationships with my brother and my stepfather, because we're recreating or creating moments that could have existed, that I get to see our behavior, and it's been insightful for me. And I'm curious if it has been for them as well. I know they love the show, but I'm realizing I should ask them if they've had any insight about our family or themselves.
Well, was it difficult for you in some scenes to, I guess, create or return to those moments of pain for you in your own life?
Yeah, I was surprised. I mean, there were moments that I thought would be hard that were actually okay for me. In the pilot, when I am at my mother's funeral, people have said, God, that was really good acting. And it's like, that wasn't acting. I actually broke down. I felt like I was there all over again. And, but yeah, it's really such a roller coaster ride doing this show, because I am endlessly amused in scenes with my co-stars, but I also am endlessly feeling emotions.
And you've got a great team of directors who worked on the show, including Nicole Holofcina, who did the first three.
Yeah.
What did they give you that really helped in your performance?
I think just an ease. Everybody, all the Ken Kwapis, I mean, just such easy people. And I definitely need that kind of energy around me to be able to respond and do my best. If somebody is not having an ease about them and an openness, it kind of, it gets rough. But I think that open, easy way is really just what they are so good at.
Can you talk about the way that the process by which you and your team of writers plotted out the 6 episodes of this season?
Of the first season?
Yes.
Which I guess is very similar to how we did it the second season. But it's just a room of 6 writers, and we threw out some ideas. I came in to both seasons with very specific ideas and storylines that I wanted to have as threads from start to finish. And some of the ideas end up staying, some don't. And you think one idea is so great and you start building on that. And as soon as a B story is added in, it clashes with what you were doing there. And so we just kind of worked through that. And then once we had the general ideas, then we started to outline the season start to finish just in a general arc. And then each episode was broken down and outlined, and then episodes were assigned to different writers to to write, and that's kind of how it's done. And then we send them in and give notes on each other's scripts, and so that was a couple of months, that whole process.
Well, the first 6 episodes of the series in the first season really work as almost like a 3-hour film, in terms of you've got a beginning and a middle and an end. So I wonder if how much were you thinking of it as an overarching story in the first season, or were you just going like episode by episode? Does that make sense?
Definitely overarching. Yeah, for sure. And, I think the second season's going to just connect so flawlessly to where we left off.
Have you started shooting, or have you finished shooting the second?
We just wrapped a few days ago, and we're beginning the editing process now.
Can you give us any indication of what we can expect from this upcoming season? Or you don't have to spoil anything, but
it is, it's, these characters have crawled out of the destruction and are dusting themselves off and getting back to life. And it's you're seeing what that looks like, getting back to life after all the devastation. And I've been telling people that there's way more honesty in second season and way more fiction at the same time. So.
Right. For the first season, you received a Writers Guild nomination. Also last year, you got your first Emmy nomination for your stand-up special, Boyish Girl Interrupted. What does that kind of recognition mean for you?
I mean, if I truly don't bank on any of that, and when any of that sort of attention is on me, it's a flattering bonus. But when I got into stand-up comedy, there's no part of me that thought that I would be nominated for Emmys or Grammys, or I just got into stand-up and then somehow have ended up doing these other things. So if people want to nominate me or give me awards, that's great.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's a great show, and I look forward to season 2. Tig Notaro, thank you so much, and congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
You're welcome. Have a good day.